What's up, jokers? Today I'm going to teach you about Super Show the Game. Super Show the Game is a very fast-paced and unpredictable wrestling-based trading card game. It's very easy to pick up and very hard to master, so whether you are an aspiring wrestler that just doesn't want to take the bumps or you just want a new trading card game to play, you should totally check it out. Let's start off with the most important of the cards, the competitor, because you can't be a wrestler in a match unless you're a wrestler. So every single competitor has a card like this. The black box with the numbers and the colors, that's their stats. Every character has different ones. They range from numbering 5 all the way up to 10, which corresponds to the one dice that you need to play this game that you roll every turn. So say the game starts, let's say for example both of you and your opponent are playing Zack Sabre Jr. here. So you both roll a die at the beginning of your turn. If you roll a power on your dice, right, that means you rolled a 5. Your opponent playing the same character, they rolled a submission. That means they rolled a 9, so they get to go. It's their turn. And that's how every turn is. That keeps the game very unpredictable. You never know. You can win in 3 turns or 400. You'll never know. Also at the bottom of the card is what we call the gimmick. Every single character or wrestler has their own gimmick. It's an effect that you can use throughout the course of the game. Also unique to every single competitor in the game is 3 finishing moves. You have a strike finish, a submission finish, and a grapple finish, and they are a part of your 30 card deck. So from cards 1 through 27, it'll be a completely different set of moves, which I'll get into detail in another video. But for the time being, all you need to know is you have a 30 card deck. 3 of those cards are finishers, and they are related to your competitor of choice. Also unique to this game, there are a lot of real life wrestlers in the game, independent. Some of them are in AEW and WWE now, etc. Most of them are made up by the company SRG themselves, but the majority of characters are going to be generated from the community, which is, I think, awesome. They play a big part of the game, both literally and figuratively. So hey, you might find a new competitor that you really like, and you might find the actual person that card is based on, which is like the coolest part about it. But aside from that, there's different match types. There's tag teams, there's fatal 4-ways, there's triple threats, there's different stipulations, there's steel cage matches, there's tables and ladders, there's street fights, there's barbed wire matches. Whatever you think of, you can probably do in this game, and it's a lot of fun. Okay, I'm playing, it's my turn, what do I do? There's a couple things you can do. So this game in general is just all about building up, or just like any other wrestling match, it's building up into a climax of some sort, right? So in your deck you have 30 cards. They are all strikes, grapples, or submissions, but even further than that, they are all leads, follow-ups, or finishing moves, as I mentioned before. So like I said, it's about building up. You can play lead cards whenever you can. If it's your turn and you have a lead in your hand, you can play it. Follow-ups you can only play once you have a lead in play on your side of the field. And then finishers you can only play when you have a follow-up in play. So that's pretty much how they work. You play a lead, you play a follow-up, and then you play a finish. Now, with that, there are also cards called stops in this game. So if you have a card in your hand on your opponent's turn, you can play it if it says stop. So you may have a card that says stop any lead strikes. So if your opponent plays a lead strike on their turn, you can stop them, and now you have a card in play. And that just pretty much goes in with the rules that I stated before. So let's say you had a follow-up that's a stop that says, stop your opponent's finisher. You can play that on your turn, and now you have a follow-up in play, right? So then when it's your turn again, you can then play a finisher. And then the game goes on like that. The big thing is finishers. When your finisher hits, that's when you go into a state of the game called a breakout. If usually in wrestling, when your finisher hits, they usually go for a pin, and this is the simulation for that. So let's say you play your strike finish and your opponent can't stop it. Now it's a hit, any card that isn't stopped when you play it is a hit. So your finisher hits, you follow whatever the effect says on the card, and then you pick up your dice and you roll it, right? So let's say you're playing Zack Sabre Jr. again in our last example, and you roll a power 5 on your finish roll. It's a really bad roll, but we're just using that for an example. So you roll a 5. Your opponent then has 3 chances to break out of that roll, which means they can roll a 5 or higher to break out. Whatever you roll, they have to either roll the exact same number or higher to break out of that roll. So you roll your 5, your opponent rolls their breakout. Their first breakout roll is a 6. They get out. Then in the theme of progression and amping things up, you have your crowd meter, which pretty much dictates the state of the game along the course of the match, and that crowd meter would then go from 0 to 1. Now each crowd meter is different depending on the stipulation, but we're just going to talk about just regular base one-on-one matches today. So now we move on to crowd meter 1. What happens in crowd meter 1 is that the finish rolls become more dramatic, right? So in crowd meter 1, usually you get +1 to your finish roll. So then we'll go back and forth again through the progression. So let's say your opponent this time hits their finishing move on you, but it's crowd meter 1. Now your opponent was still using Zack Sabre Jr. They rolled a 5. They got a power, so we just rolling low on all the finishers today, right? So they roll a 5, but because the crowd meter is +1 now, they roll a 6. So now you have to roll a 6 or higher to keep the game progressing. And that's pretty much the gist of Super Show the Game. The higher the crowd meter goes, the more intense it is to play, and the more exciting it is to watch.
1, 2, has to be power. Here is your winner, and the new Origins 2018 Legendary Fighting Federation World Heavyweight Champion, the Italian Bada!
An even bigger part of the game, the community. From the players all the way up to the people behind the game themselves, just in the Facebook groups and on Discord servers and in tournaments online and offline. It's just such a great place to be in. As a newer player recently myself, they are very welcoming to anybody that is just interested in enjoying the same game that they enjoy. It's very fun. I've met a lot of good people so far and made a lot of friends. You can just, you get the freedom to be your own wrestling character that you could never be in real life. You can even cut a promo if you want.
What's it going to be? I wait.
That's all for now. Stay tuned. I'll be talking about different aspects of the game, probably go in depth on a little bit of cards and characters and things like that, just so I can any chance for me to talk more about Super Show the Game. Alright, catch y'all jokers later.